everyone. Since we are all new here, my name is Bree, and I hope you guys are ready to talk about books because I am ready to tell you about some books. I had a really good reading year last year, like the best one I've had. I read 103 books. It's the first time I've ever gone over 100, and I want to talk about my top 10. As you can see here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I did count correctly. I thought for a moment that I did not. Please make yourself comfortable. I have a little mug of tea here, spearmint, I believe, in my beloved Frankenstein mug. Let's get on with it. Okay, I'm going to go in order from January through December. So I read Intermezzo by Sally Rooney last January, and I absolutely loved it. Complete 5 stars, didn't even have to think about it. I was already a Sally Rooney fan from, I want to say the first one I read was Conversations with Friends, which maybe still remains my favorite. This is a contender for the top spot, though, of her books that I've read, which I think is actually all of them. I know that a lot of people have a hard time with Sally Rooney because of the lack of quotation marks in her writing, which I will admit is interesting. And the first time I picked up Normal People, I DNF'd it after not getting very far in because of that reason. It kind of drove my brain crazy, and I put it down for a really long time, and then after a while and seeing so many raving reviews about it, I picked it back up and I kept going this time, and you get used to it. Like, it's not a deal breaker, at least for me. After a while, I got so used to it that I didn't even notice they were missing, and I absolutely love Sally Rooney's writing. I think it is brilliant, and I love her characters, how they're not always likable, but that feels authentic to me and a lot like how people are. Intermezzo follows 2 adult brothers named Ivan and Peter, and it's the story of their relationships with each other and with other people as they navigate the grief of losing their father. It is fantastic. It's just so good. The writing is amazing. The characters feel like real people, and I loved their relationships in it. It was just so good. Like, absolute 5 stars. I recommend the heck out of this. Pick it up if you haven't already. If you have, I would like to know what you thought of it. This was number 1. These are in chronological order of the time that I read them, not in any specific, like, I liked this one the best and this one the worst. I don't think I have a number 1 favorite from last year. If I decide that I do at the end of this, I will amend that statement. Next, this was either January or February, I picked up The Silent Companions. I don't even actually remember how I heard about it. Honestly, it was probably Instagram. This is it's a gothic story, kind of historical as well. And it is this woman who has lost her husband. She is pregnant. She goes to his estate, and weird things start happening. I feel like this one is best to go into without knowing too much about it. But I will say that this was brilliant. I loved the writing. It was by Laura Purcell. I really need to read more by her because I just fell in love with this. It was so creepy. Like, it actually takes quite a bit for things to creep me out, especially in books, but this one did it. I was very impressed with it, and I absolutely recommend this. Okay, next up, we have We Could Be Rats by Emily Austen. This was not the first book I had read by Emily Austen. I actually read Interesting Facts About Space by her, I want to say in 2024. That was my first Emily Austen, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So as soon as this one came out, I was hoping it was going to be a Book of the Month pick, and it was, and I snatched it up right away. This is so good. This one is about 2 sisters, Sigrid and Margit. It's about 2 sisters that really don't have anything in common, and they don't super get along because Sigrid has an inability to conform to the expectations of polite society. It's a lot about the relationship between the 2 sisters. This one also I don't want to say too much about because there's kind of, I don't know if I would call it a twist because it's not like a thriller or anything, but you don't know really the whole story or what's going on for a good chunk of the book. But if you've read any Emily Austen, you know about, like, her stream of consciousness way of writing, which I absolutely love. Like, all of her books feel to me like the way my own brain works. So yeah, I absolutely recommend this one. Right after I read this one, I immediately picked up Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead because at that point it was the only other book of hers that I had not read. This one is about a woman named Gilda who is kind of obsessed with death. This story, it kind of follows her through almost a mental breakdown. She ends up getting a job at a Catholic church to replace a receptionist, like an older receptionist who has recently died. Even though Gilda is not Catholic, and I don't believe she is actually religious at all, it's hard to say really what these are about. I would almost say they're like character studies. It's almost like reading someone's diary. I love the way that Emily Austen writes so much, and I love her characters, and I relate so much to all of them. And so yes, 100% recommend this one as well. Her newest book, Is This a Cry for Help, just came out in January of this year. We're not talking about this year, but I love that one as well. I love her, and she is an auto-buy author for me, 100%. Interview with a Vampire. I honestly can't believe it took me this long to read this book. Shockingly as well, I haven't even seen any of the film or TV adaptations of this either. This was my first experience with this story. This is by Anne Rice. This was, I know I'm saying brilliant a lot, but absolutely brilliant. I love the writing in this. I loved the story. It went so in depth. All of the characters, even though they were vampires, they felt very real. I felt very connected to them. The empathy levels were very high, and like, if you've read this, you know that there's a lot of death in this story, and I definitely cried. If you've read it, you probably know which part I'm talking about. This was great. Anybody who has read past this one in this series, I know there's like a lot of them. Are any of the other ones as good? Because I have heard that they aren't, but I really at least want to read The Vampire Lestat maybe this year, and I really want to watch some of the adaptations. I know there's I believe it's on Netflix, a series, and then obviously the movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. If you guys have watched those and read the book, let me know which adaptation is better. Which one should I watch? Oh, we're getting to a couple of my favorites. These are all my favorites, but these ones, just My Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Vanvine. This, the just epitome of the gothic novel. We follow a girl named Roos, and I really hope that I'm saying that correctly. Anyway, she has a spirit companion that she's had since she was little, and nobody else can see the spirit companion. And by spirit companion, it is a dead woman. Her name is Ruth. She looks like a corpse. She has been dead for hundreds of years. Roos lives with her mother in the beginning of this, who isn't a great person and kind of exploits her. And then this woman named Agnes comes and takes Roos away. We're getting convoluted. So Agnes takes Roos back to her home, which she lived in with her husband before his death. And things start getting weird. Things between Roos and Agnes start getting complicated. I cannot stress enough how good this was, how much I loved this. You know, there's like a handful of books that everybody wishes they could read again for the first time. This is one of them. So good, so unique. I've never read a story like this. Like, just perfection. Just pick this one up if you have not already. If you have, I would love to know what you thought of it. Now, after that one, we have Blood on Her Tongue, because obviously after reading that one by Vanvine, I had to pick up her other book immediately. Just look at the edges of this one too. It's gorgeous. This one is about two twin sisters, Lucy and Sarah. And Sarah gets married, and she starts to become a little unwell. They find a bog body on her land in a bog, and Sarah starts to become a little bit obsessed with it. And then she starts to go downhill very fast. And so Lucy comes to help, to assist, to make sure her sister is okay. And we find out pretty quickly that she's not. If you are squeamish, this one might get to you a little bit. However, if you're not, or if you're not afraid of being squeamish, maybe 100% pick this up. Vanvine's writing is so good. I love it so much. And her stories are so unlike other books that you've read. Like, they don't remind me of anything else because they are so fresh and so new and just so good. She has one coming out this year. Next month already. Is it next month already? It might be March, if I'm not mistaken. So excited. I'm so excited. Next we have We Used to Live Here. I know a lot of people read this one before I did, and I am so glad that I got the physical copy of this guy, because if you've read it, you know there are so many little secrets and like Easter eggy type things and different ways that the text is presented on the page that tell you things that you wouldn't get from, say, an audiobook. And you might see the same things on, say, like an ebook. It would probably look the same. This one is is it a haunted house story? Maybe, kind of. So we have a couple, Charlie and Eve. They have just bought this big old house because they flip houses. So they've just bought this big old house. And Charlie is not there one night. And Eve answers the door during a snowstorm, I believe. And there is a family there. And the man claims that he used to live there. And they want to come in so he can show his kids the house that he used to live in as a kid. And Eve is a people pleaser to the core. So she wants to say no because she's home alone. And her wife, are they married? Her partner, I can't remember if they're married or not. Charlie isn't there. Charlie is normally the strong one that would have said, no, we don't want you to come in. Please go away. Eve lets them in. And really weird things start happening after that. How much can you even say to this? There's 3 kids that come in with them. The little child goes missing and they can't find her. And Eve cannot get these people out of her house. And things just start getting weirder and weirder and weirder. This book was a total mindfuck. I read House of Leaves a couple of years ago, and this reminded me so much of House of Leaves, but I enjoyed it immensely more. We can talk about that another time. All of the little hints and clues that you find throughout the book about, what's going on behind the scenes, the things that you aren't overtly told, really blew my mind. And upon finishing the book, I just sat there for a long time. And then I went down a Reddit rabbit hole for hours looking at other theories and other clues and hints in the book that people had found, and fascinating. I want to read it again. I want to find a text that shows me all of the clues so that I can understand what happened in here. I found a lot of things, especially after the Reddit search. I still feel like I missed a lot too. I feel like there's stuff in here that I didn't see, and the story is so fascinating, and the things that could have been happening in this, so good, so good. If you like twisty, thrillery, horror, mind-bending stories, and if you like the haunted house theme, this is for you. I'm just realizing, okay, so I read Diavola by, oh no, I'm gonna have to put it on the screen. I can't think of it from my head. I don't have the physical copy of Diavola. I read it in the spring. And it is another gothic story. I was in my gothic era in the spring of this year. Diavola tells the story of a woman who goes on vacation to Italy with her family, and they stay in this old villa. Things start happening in the villa that cannot be explained. Why can't I remember the main character's name? That is going to Anna? I think it was Anna. Let's hope it was Anna, because I'm going to say Anna. Anna starts seeing things in the villa that can't be explained. She starts seeing a figure around that she can't quite see clearly, and really sinister things start happening, and all of her family just spends the whole story gaslighting her because they can't see it. It is such a good haunted house story. It's so good. The family is going to royally piss you off because there's no way they won't, honestly. But that one is also just absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I really need to get a physical copy just because I loved it so much. I would love to have it on my shelf. That one also is another one that genuinely creeped me out. Like I said, that doesn't happen a lot. I want to get creeped out. It doesn't, things don't affect me that much that often. It has to be really good, I think, for me to actually get scared, and that one succeeded. So, now we are into, I want to say I read this in November. It was on my TBR for October, but we all know how TBRs go. And I am just a ridiculous mood reader, so I got to this at the beginning of November. I read Krampus, Christmas of 2024. It was amazing. I had actually heard of this one first, but I just hadn't purchased it or gotten around to it. So I saved it for spooky season after how much I liked Krampus. And this is maybe one of the best books I've read ever. So good. I know a lot of you have read this, so you know what I'm talking about. Brom is so impressive. I loved the writing in this. I basically loved the writing in all of these. That is what it takes to get on my top favorites list of the year, apparently. The writing is fantastic. The story is fantastic. I felt like I was there. It is incredibly immersive. This is like colonial New England, right? Okay, so our main character's name is Abatha. This is Abatha on the cover. That might be a spoiler. It's on the cover. Okay, so you know what? I'm just going to read you guys the synopsis on the back here. An ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him Father, Slayer, Protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, Demon, Devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together, they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in its wake. And I mean, me being... Hocus Pocus has been my favorite movie basically since I was a baby when it came out. So I love that kind of stuff. This was so good, guys. Like, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Oh, and there are illustrations. Fantastic illustrations in this. Every chapter has its own little illustration at the top. And in the middle, we've got some glossy pages with bigger illustrations. And you know what? You've probably read this at this point, but if you haven't, this one. Perfect for the fall season, of course. We are down to the final 5-star book that I read in 2025. I didn't rate all of these 5 stars, if I'm being completely honest, and there were other books that I rated 5 stars that didn't make it onto the list because I don't necessarily rate based upon my enjoyment level, but I chose this list based upon my enjoyment level. I hope that makes sense. The final 5-star and final favorite book of 2025 was Hazelthorne by C.G. Drews. This has become one of my favorite books in ever, and I am so happy that I read it. I'm so happy that the cover kind of called out to me when I saw it on Book of the Month. I did already own Don't Let the Forest In. It was sitting on my shelf. It's been there for maybe a year, but I hadn't read it yet when I read this. And, I mean, the cover, look at that cover. Look how pretty this is. It obviously called to me, and I picked it up, and something about it just called my name in December, so I was like, you know what, let's check it out. I am so glad I did. This is so good. C.G. Drews tells these botanical horror stories. I don't even know how else to explain it. They are unsettling, like rotting. Everything feels rotting, and the imagery is so descriptive that it's like you can feel it, you can smell it, you can see everything. This was amazing. I could not put it down. I was so sad when it was over. I loved the characters. I would die for Lori. If you haven't looked into C.G. Drews yet, if you have not read any of their work, I 100% recommend it. I have not read Don't Let the Forest In. I loved it almost as much as this one. I love both of them so much, but I think Hazelthorne has my heart a little bit. And I'm so excited. C.G. Drews, they have 2 books coming out this year. One, I believe, in March and one October, sometime in the fall. I absolutely cannot wait to devour more of their work because I love the way they write. That is my 10 top favorite books of the year. Now, I do have a couple of honorable mentions just because they were amazing and I had already filled up my top 10. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So good. So good. It felt so nice. I related so much to Emily. I mean, if you've read it, you know that she's kind of reclusive, she's kind of antisocial, she's kind of awkward. I am also all of those things, so I related to her quite a lot. We have Emily, who is writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairy lore. She ends up kind of working with an academic rival named Wendell Bamblebee, who reminds me a lot of Howl from Howl's Moving Castle. That's kind of his character. He's very, I don't want to say arrogant, confident. He's confident. He is good with people, whereas Emily is not. So they kind of work together to research for this encyclopedia and ask people questions. They end up getting themselves into trouble because, of course, it is so good. It is so cute. It is so magical. And I loved it to bits. I have now purchased the second installment of this to read this year, and I'm really excited about it. Next we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I loved this so much. I am so impressed that a man wrote this, because if you've read this or if you know anything about it, this book is about a home for unwed pregnant teenage girls. So our main characters, they are all pregnant teenage girls. And this was written by a man. And he did such a good job. I am so impressed. I know that he talked to a lot of women to make sure that he got it right, but in my opinion, he did get it right. These girls, this is the 70s. These girls are at this home for unwed pregnant teenage mothers who are kind of hidden away while they are pregnant until they have their babies. Their babies are subsequently taken from them, and then they go back to their lives like nothing happened, because that's how it was back then. So these girls, they have nobody listening to them. They have nobody to help them. They are completely alone except for each other. And one day, this kind of traveling library comes, and the girls discover a book on witchcraft. And they lean into it a little bit because it is a way for them to gain some power. But they quickly find out that it might not be the kind of power they want. This is fantastic. I am a huge fan of Grady Hendrix. I think I've read this one, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, My Best Friend's Exorcism. Maybe that's it. I'm only about halfway through his books so far. I really need to read all of them because this one was such a hit for me. I could not put it down. I absolutely loved it. Our last two, I hope aren't going to be underwhelming. I read with the Game of Tomes book club hosted by Emmy and Carolyn Marie. So our first book of 2025 for the book club was The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, which is about a man who goes to a tuberculosis sanatorium in the Swiss Alps, and he's only supposed to be there for a little while. He's supposed to be visiting his cousin, and he ends up being there for, I think it's 6 years, and this book is the story of that. How do I describe this book? It was so good, and I learned a lot about tuberculosis, and it was just so interesting what these people did to try and get healthy and the relationships they all had while they were in there. Our main character's name is Hans. Hans is a very interesting person. I will be quite honest, we read this book in 3 months. I read this for 3 months. By the end of it, I was so ready to be done. I was incredibly ready to be done. It is a good story. It is very well written, but it feels like it drags a little bit. I am glad I read it. I was very glad when I was done with it. And so almost immediately after that, I kind of wish I hadn't read these two so close together. I read The Impusium by Olga Tokarczuk. I really hope that I didn't butcher that. This is it's almost like a horror retelling of The Magic Mountain. We have a man who goes to a tuberculosis sanatorium. Things start getting very weird in this one for our main character, whose name I cannot remember. It's not in the synopsis, and I want to say it was one that I couldn't pronounce. Olga explores female rage in this, I would say. It was so good. It felt like a fever dream. I really, really need to read it again, and I am considering listening to the audiobook this time because I read Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead a few years ago. Fantastic, brilliant book. I listened to the audiobook of it last year, perhaps, and I loved getting to hear all of the names pronounced because the narrator is somebody who speaks the language that it was translated from. So she pronounces everything perfectly. All of the names that I read and I didn't really know how to say in my mind, I want to do that with this too, and I want to experience it with a little bit more separation from The Magic Mountain because looking back on them, they are very different because The Impusium is a horror retelling. However, they obviously have a lot of the same themes and happenings. So they kind of have melded together in my brain when I try to remember specific things. I cannot be too sure which book it was from. So probably going to do a reread of that one at some point very soon. Okay, well, that was my top 10 plus 4 honorable mentions from 2025 out of the 103 books that I read. And honestly, I had the best reading year last year. I was thinking about, I've seen a lot of people do a 10 worst books that they read last year as well. I don't have that. I only found one book on my entire list from last year that I rated below 3 stars, and it was just a short story, so... And even the stuff I rated like 3 stars, I didn't hate anything that I read last year. So, that's great, right? I'm happy about it. I had every intention of getting this video out in January of this year, because that would have been the time for such a video, right? That did not happen. You know, here we are. It's February. It's okay. I'm still getting it out now. If you read any of these, if you liked them, if you hated them, if they're on your TBR, let me know in the comments. I would love to chat books with you guys. And I am planning to be back very soon, so I would love to see some of you guys there as well.